Did you know that Americans spend over $1.2 trillion every year on stuff they don't need? And here's something even more shocking. The average American home has 300,000 items inside it. But what if I told you that you could have more freedom, less stress, and even more happiness by owning less? I used to be caught in the cycle of buying more, accumulating more, and feeling more overwhelmed. It wasn't until I discovered the power of minimalism that everything started to change. In this video, I'm going to share 6 minimalist rules that completely transformed my life. From clearing physical clutter to cutting out distractions, these simple strategies will help you focus on what truly matters. Ready to find out how less stuff can lead to more happiness? Let's dive in. Chapter 1. The Power of Less. How decluttering brought clarity. Decluttering isn't just about throwing stuff away. It's a mindset shift that can transform your life. Studies show that physical clutter can contribute to stress, anxiety, and even depression. According to a study by the University of California, clutter increases cortisol levels, a stress hormone. The more clutter, the more stress. Simple, right? When I first started decluttering, I thought it would just be about making space. But I quickly realized that the real benefit was mental clarity. Without the constant visual distractions, I could focus better on my work and personal goals. One of the first things I did was tackle my desk. I removed everything I didn't need. Suddenly, it felt easier to concentrate, and I had more energy. Decluttering also helps with decision-making. Ever notice how when your space is messy, you feel overwhelmed? It's because your brain is constantly processing the chaos around you. Reducing that chaos frees up mental space. You don't have to worry about what's on your desk or in your closet anymore. It's one less thing to think about, and that can be a game changer. In the book The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, Marie Kondo talks about how removing unnecessary items helps you focus on what truly sparks joy. When you only keep what brings you happiness, you're left with only things that matter. This mindset can extend beyond just physical objects. It can apply to how you spend your time and who you spend it with. I started with my closet. I asked myself, do I really need this? If the answer was no, I donated it. By the end of the process, my closet felt like a sanctuary. Every item was something I used and loved. It was freeing. Research shows that simplifying your space can also improve your sleep. According to the National Sleep Foundation, a tidy room can help promote better sleep patterns, leading to better overall health. So, it's not just your mind that benefits, but your body too. The benefits of decluttering are real. As you clear your space, you also clear your mind. The act of simplifying everything around you sets the stage for a calmer, more productive life. Chapter 2. Quality over quantity. Curating meaningful possessions. One of the most impactful rules I embraced was choosing quality over quantity. It's tempting to buy more because we think we need more. But what I've found is that less can be more, especially when it's the right stuff. There's a concept called the paradox of choice. Psychologist Barry Schwartz discusses this in his book The Paradox of Choice. Essentially, the more options we have, the less satisfied we feel. When you have too many things, it's hard to appreciate any one item fully. Choosing fewer, but higher quality items means you give more value to each. For example, I decided to upgrade my wardrobe by focusing on versatile, durable pieces. Instead of buying a bunch of cheap clothes, I invested in a few high-quality staples. These clothes lasted longer and felt better, which gave me more confidence. A well-curated closet can actually save you time and money in the long run. According to a study from the University of Utah, people who bought fewer, higher-quality items reported feeling more satisfied with their purchases. This is because they valued what they owned instead of feeling like they needed more. Think about your own belongings for a moment. How many items do you actually use daily? Many of us keep things out of habit, not need. Minimalism encourages you to take a closer look and ask, does this add value? If it doesn't, let it go. One of the simplest ways to start is by looking at your daily routine. Do you need every tool or gadget in your kitchen? Do you use all the clothes in your closet? I found that by carefully curating my possessions, I wasn't just reducing clutter, I was also making my life more intentional. I had fewer things to care for, and more time for the things that matter most. Quality items not only enhance your life but can also shift your mindset. You begin to value what you own, knowing it's been chosen for its lasting value, not its temporary appeal. Chapter 3. The 80/20ths of life. Focusing on what truly matters. The 80/20ths rule, also known as the Pareto principle, is a simple concept that can change your life. It's the idea that 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts. In a minimalist context, this means you should focus on the 20% of activities, people, and possessions that bring you the most happiness and success. I applied this principle to my daily routine. I realized that most of my energy was going toward things that didn't really matter. By cutting out the unimportant tasks, I had more time and energy to focus on what truly brought me joy and fulfillment. The idea behind this rule is rooted in data. Research by economist Vilfredo Pareto in 1906 found that 80% of land in Italy was owned by just 20% of the population. This principle applies not only to economics but to nearly every area of life. It's true in business, relationships, and even personal growth. I started by looking at my calendar. I asked myself, what tasks bring the most value? The answer wasn't always the obvious ones. It was often the small actions that had the biggest impact. It's the same with people. The relationships that bring the most meaning are often the few, not the many. Focusing on the essential helps eliminate distractions. According to a study by the American Psychological Association, distractions at work cost businesses about $650 billion each year. Imagine how much more productive and satisfied we could be if we simply focused on what truly mattered. By simplifying my commitments and relationships, I also simplified my stress. The more I focused on my priorities, the less overwhelmed I felt. Minimalism doesn't just apply to things, it's about minimizing the noise in your life. One of the greatest things I learned is that less can be more. The 80/20ths rule teaches us that life doesn't require constant hustle. By prioritizing the right actions, we can achieve more with less effort. If you're finding these tips helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more strategies on living a simpler, more fulfilling life. Chapter 4. Freedom in the Void. How minimalism creates space for creativity. When you think of minimalism, you might picture a sparse room with empty walls. But that void is more than just an empty space, it's a space for creativity to thrive. By removing excess, we free ourselves from distractions and open up room for new ideas to emerge. The concept of negative space is central in both art and design. In minimalism, it's the space left empty, allowing the focus to shift to the most important elements. When we apply this idea to our daily lives, we find that removing clutter, both physical and mental, helps us think more clearly and create more freely. Research supports this idea. A study from the Princeton University Neuroscience Institute found that clutter in your environment can overload your brain, making it harder to focus and process information. By removing unnecessary items, you reduce cognitive load, which can help boost creativity. It's like clearing out a dusty old attic, making room for fresh, new ideas. Personally, I found that when I began embracing minimalism, my creativity flourished. Without the constant pull of distractions, I could dive deeper into creative projects. Whether it was writing, painting, or simply brainstorming new ideas, I noticed that I was more productive. This principle isn't just about physical clutter, it's also about mental clutter. When your mind is crowded with to-do lists, emails, and worries, it's tough to create. Minimalism encourages us to let go of unnecessary mental noise. By simplifying my tasks and focusing only on what mattered, I found more energy to devote to creative endeavors. The writer Cal Newport, in his book Deep Work, explains how minimizing distractions leads to deeper concentration. Newport argues that our ability to do deep, focused work is one of the most valuable skills in today's world. Minimalism gives us the space to cultivate that skill. The more I embraced the void, the more I realized that true freedom lies in simplicity. By reducing the things that demanded my attention, I could focus more on what I truly loved. Creativity thrives in the empty spaces we intentionally create in our lives. Chapter 5. Intentional Living. The art of purposeful possessions. Living with purpose is at the heart of minimalism. When I began to choose only the possessions that truly added value to my life, I noticed a significant shift in my mindset. No longer did I buy things out of habit or impulse. Instead, I focused on what aligned with my values and goals. There's a popular quote from the book Essentialism by Greg McKeown: "If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will." This really hit home for me. Without intention, we end up accumulating things or commitments that don't serve us. Minimalism offers a way to reclaim that control by being deliberate about what we bring into our lives. One of the key strategies in intentional living is asking yourself one simple question: does this truly add value? This applies to both physical possessions and daily activities. If something doesn't enhance your life or move you closer to your goals, it's time to let it go. A study by Harvard Business Review revealed that people who are intentional about their possessions and actions tend to report higher levels of happiness and fulfillment. By focusing on the things that truly matter, we reduce the feeling of overwhelm and start to live with greater purpose. I remember a time when I used to hold on to items just because I thought I might need them someday. But that, just in case, mentality only filled my space with unnecessary clutter. When I started being more intentional, I focused on owning only what I used regularly or what brought me joy. That shift made my life feel more organized and meaningful. Intentional living doesn't just apply to what we own, it applies to how we spend our time, too. If we're intentional about our commitments and relationships, we spend less time on things that drain us and more time on the things that energize us. This allows us to focus on personal growth and creating memories, not just collecting stuff. Minimalism helps us make conscious decisions about where we invest our energy. Whether it's the people we surround ourselves with or the projects we pursue, living intentionally allows us to create a life that truly reflects our values. Chapter 6. The Zen of Time. Minimalism's secret to stress-free living. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned from minimalism is the importance of simplifying my schedule. Time, like possessions, can become cluttered. We often feel like we need to be busy all the time, but minimalism teaches us that less is often more, especially when it comes to how we spend our time. There's a fascinating study from the University of California that found people who overschedule themselves are more likely to experience higher levels of stress and burnout. In contrast, those who took the time to simplify their commitments and focus on the essential reported feeling more in control and at peace. Minimalism helps us make space for rest, reflection, and the things that matter most. One strategy I used to reduce my stress was adopting a time blocking method. I started by prioritizing the most important tasks and scheduling specific blocks of time for them. By cutting out unnecessary meetings or tasks, I found that I could focus more on the things that were truly important. The concept of saying no is central to minimalist time management. We live in a culture where saying yes is seen as the polite thing to do. But by learning to say no to non-essential commitments, we create more time for self-care, hobbies, and meaningful relationships. This strategy can be life-changing. The minimalist approach to time management is not about doing less for the sake of it. It's about being deliberate with your time, ensuring that your energy goes toward what enhances your life. In Essentialism, Greg McKeown discusses the importance of creating space to make high-quality decisions. Minimalism allows us to do this by removing distractions and reducing commitments that don't align with our priorities. Simplifying your schedule also means being present in the moment. When you're not juggling multiple tasks or worrying about the next thing on your to-do list, you can fully engage with what you're doing right now. Research from the University of Washington found that multitasking actually reduces productivity and increases stress. Minimalism teaches us the value of focusing on one thing at a time. By embracing minimalist time management, you create a routine that's not only more manageable but also more rewarding. You find yourself less overwhelmed and more in control of your day-to-day life. With fewer distractions, you have more space for relaxation, creativity, and growth. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want more tips and insights into creating a simpler, more joyful life.